The dinner rush was finally settling down at Malik's family restaurant, the kind of cozy place where the aroma of grilled spices drifted through the air and families gathered to unwind. Adil slid into a booth with his 7-year-old son, Hamza, both of them drained from a long day of errands, traffic, and unexpected delays. Adil loosened his tie and sighed, grateful for a moment to breathe. Hamza rested his chin on the table, drumming lightly with his fingers while glancing around the bustling room. That's when they both noticed her. A woman in faded clothes stood near a cluster of empty tables, moving carefully and quietly, almost as if she didn't want the world to notice her presence. Her hair was tied back loosely, strands falling across her face as she bent over, gathering scraps of untouched naan, pieces of chicken, and leftover rice into a small plastic container she carried. She wasn't stealing, everyone could see that. She waited until families left, until plates were abandoned, until the waiters turned away to grab clean dishes. Her movements were slow but deliberate, filled with a dignity that made her struggle even more visible. Some customers glanced at her with surprise, others with discomfort, but no one said anything. Even the staff looked at her with a quiet understanding, as if this had become routine, as if they knew she wasn't dangerous, just hungry. Or perhaps helping someone hungry. Hamza watched her with widened eyes, captivated in a way he couldn't explain. She noticed his stare and offered him a small, fragile smile, one that looked like it had been practiced through hardship. Then she disappeared toward the exit, clutching her container. Adil exhaled softly, unaware of the twist fate was about to reveal. To him, she was just another passing stranger. But to Hamza, she was something far more familiar. When Adil and Hamza stepped outside the restaurant, the cool night air wrapped around them like a gentle cloak. The city lights flickered against the darkening sky, and the sounds of honking cars blended with distant chatter from nearby shops. Adil stretched his shoulders, relieved to be out of the crowded restaurant. Hamza, however, walked unusually close to him, his small hand gripping his father's a little tighter than normal. They made their way along the sidewalk, passing glowing signboards and families leaving the marketplace with shopping bags. But Hamza wasn't paying attention to any of it. His eyes kept shifting left and right, scanning the faces around them, as though searching for something he couldn't quite describe. "Everything okay, buddy?" Adil asked, glancing down. Hamza hesitated. "Daddy, where did she go?" "Who?" Adil asked, distracted as he unlocked the car from a distance. "The lady with the food," Hamza said softly. "The one picking leftovers." Adil paused. For a moment he assumed Hamza was simply curious, maybe worried. Kids had soft hearts. "She probably went home, Beta. Or somewhere she stays." But Hamza shook his head slowly. "No. I think I know her." Adil crouched to his level, confused. "Know her? From where?" Hamza bit his lip, his gaze fixed on the dimly lit street stretching ahead. "She looked the same. Like someone who helped us before." Adil tried to recall any memory that matched Hamza's words, but nothing clear came to mind. The world was full of strangers, and children often connected faces with old memories. Still, the worry in Hamza's voice tugged at him. "Let's get to the car," Adil said. "We'll talk more, okay?" But Hamza's eyes stayed focused ahead, because he sensed he was about to find her. They walked slowly toward the parking area, following the narrow side street that cut behind the restaurant. The pavement was rough, scattered with tiny stones and wrappers fluttering in the wind. A single streetlight flickered above, casting long, crooked shadows that stretched across the dim alleyway. Adil held Hamza's hand firmly, but the boy tugged forward with growing urgency, eyes fixed ahead as if drawn by an invisible thread. Suddenly, Hamza stopped so abruptly that Adil nearly stumbled. "Daddy," he whispered, "look." At first, Adil saw nothing unusual, just an empty stretch of alley. But then, beneath the weak glow of the streetlight, he noticed a figure sitting on a flattened piece of cardboard. It was her, the same woman from the restaurant. Her shoulders were hunched slightly against the cold, and her clothes looked even more worn in this harsh lighting. She wasn't eating the leftover food she'd collected. Instead, she was breaking it into small, equal portions for 3 thin stray cats gathered around her feet. She stroked their heads gently, whispering to them in a soft voice that carried more tenderness than the night itself. When one cat edged closer and tried to eat more than its share, she stopped it with a gentle tap, redistributing the pieces carefully so none went hungry. Hamza's voice trembled. "Daddy, it's her." Adil frowned. "Yes, it's the same woman from the restaurant." "No," Hamza said, shaking his head as tears began to well in his eyes. "It's her. The lady who gave me water, at the bus station last year. When I was sick. When you went to find medicine." Adil's breath caught. Memories rushed back, the scorching heat, Hamza fainting, the kindness of a stranger who had given her only bottle of water and vanished before they could thank her. He stared at the woman again, realization settling like a heavy stone in his chest. Adil stood frozen for a moment, stunned by the sudden clarity of the memory returning to him. The woman's face, though thinner now and framed by exhaustion, carried the same softness he had seen on that scorching afternoon months ago. Back then, he had been frantic. Hamza had nearly fainted from dehydration while they waited at a crowded bus station. Adil had rushed to find medicine, but before he returned, a stranger had knelt beside his son, fanning him, supporting his head, and offering the only bottle of water she had. When Adil came back, she insisted she was just passing by, then disappeared into the crowd before he could thank her. Now she sat before him again, not by coincidence, but by the quiet struggles fate had threaded through her life. As the realization settled, Adil felt a wave of regret crash through him. How could he not have recognized her? How had her life fallen to this point, scavenging leftovers, sitting in cold alleys, feeding stray animals with the little she had? He watched her lift a small cat into her lap, stroking its matted fur with a kind of love she herself probably hadn't received in a long time. Her smile was faint, almost hidden, but it carried a warmth that reminded Adil of that day at the bus station, how she comforted a child who wasn't hers, expecting nothing in return. Hamza wiped his eyes. "She helped me when I was scared," he whispered. Adil swallowed hard. The guilt tightened his chest. He had walked past her earlier, assuming she was just another struggling stranger. But she had once been their unexpected savior. He knew he couldn't leave things as they were, not tonight, not ever again. Adil stepped forward slowly, not wanting to startle her. The gravel beneath his shoes crunched softly, causing the woman to lift her head in alarm. Her hands froze mid-motion, as if she was ready to flee. Life on the streets had taught her caution, too many approached with judgment, not kindness. But then she saw Hamza. The boy walked ahead of his father, holding a small dessert box close to his chest. His steps were hesitant but determined. When he reached her, he opened the box and held it out with both hands, offering it the way children offer their most precious treasures. "You helped me once," he said gently. "At the bus station. You gave me your water when I was sick. I never forgot." The woman's breath trembled. Her eyes shimmered with sudden tears, one she quickly tried to wipe away with the back of her sleeve. She looked from Hamza to Adil, confused, almost ashamed to be recognized in her current state. Adil crouched beside his son. "You saved my child that day," he said softly. "We didn't get to thank you. And tonight, we didn't recognize you at first. But we're here now." He set down 2 warm food containers he had brought from the restaurant. "No more leftovers. Not for you. If you ever need a meal, or anything, come to us. Please." For a moment, the woman said nothing. Her lips quivered as she tried to speak, but emotion tangled her words. When she finally managed a smile, it was the first genuine one she had allowed herself in a long time, full of warmth, relief, and gratitude. Under the flickering streetlight, kindness that had once been given freely returned home, completing a circle neither of them knew was still open. A small act. A forgotten memory. And a moment that healed 3 hearts at once.